Well, so we filed a motion asking to preserve all communications with any witness, police, prosecutor, attorneys, and so forth. And then we learned something that I knew that Michael Avenatti was involved with some of the people in this case, but I think what the state said is he represents witnesses in each of the cases, which is just crazy to me. No, we didn't say that. No, she said that he represents people in each of the cases. That's what she said. We don't know. We know in two of the cases he represents people. We know that he was representing people before the grand jury. We know that he's not a licensed lawyer in Illinois, so that's the unauthorized practice of law. We know what he says about what he does. We know how he operates. And we know that what happened in this case was a result of his pressure and nothing else. Because I've seen the evidence so far. And they just don't do this. They don't bring back cases that were rejected 15 years ago. They don't indict cases without talking to witnesses and doing a thorough investigation. And that's what happened in this case. A rush to judgment, a rush to prosecute because of pressure, all polluted by Michael Avenatti.
Why wait until Avenatti is under scrutiny for Kim Fox is now under fire? Why wait? You felt like they were conspiring together. Why did you wait all this time?
I said the first night when I was at the police station that this was wrong, that they had rushed to judgment, that they had succumbed to pressure. That's what I said the first night before we'd been to court and we'd seen anything. Then we started to get the evidence. We got a little bit of the evidence, and we can see that there's all sorts of problems. We didn't wait. We didn't rush. Maybe if he didn't have these problems right away, we would have waited longer till we had more of the evidence. Maybe not. But we know that he's got these problems. When you get in bed with fleas, this is what happens.
So are you saying that Kim Fox, if I'm at home and I'm listening to you talk about this, and obviously everybody's still focused on Mark Kelly, tell me what you think is wrong about this case and how it's charged with Poole.
What's wrong with this case is that there is no case. There's no new tape. Avenatti's full of it when he said there was a new tape. There are old cases that were rejected, and understand we're limited what we can say about the evidence by our rules here in Illinois, rules that he didn't feel constrained by because he's not a lawyer here in Illinois. But I've never heard of, in 33 years of doing this, I've never seen a case where it's rejected after a full investigation and then 15 plus years later without any reinvestigation, just because the sort of public perception has turned that it's charged. There is a case involving a young lady who wrote a book where she said, I lied to R. Kelly about how old I was. I came to his trial every day. You had to be 18 to get into that trial. She went with her mother. That, if you see somebody with their mother and they're telling you they're 19 years old, mom doesn't say that's wrong. And there's problems with all of the cases. All the cases, they shouldn't have been brought. There's all this pressure. There was a so-called documentary which was really just a hatchet job that was done. And then they indicted these cases. And the problem is there was this call from the prosecutor. People call, let us know what happened. And so far, from what I can tell, the only people who called all of a sudden ended up with Michael Avenatti is their lawyer.
So, Steve, are you saying that Michael Avenatti pressured Kim Fox to bring these cases?
Absolutely.
When you say
Are you saying that Kim Fox?
Can you talk about the motion today and why you want these emails and texts?
Sure, we've already seen that State's Attorney Fox has conversations with people about pending cases, pending investigations. I want to know what conversations she had with Avenatti about this case, about these facts, and what occurred. I think it's totally appropriate.
Kim Fox fed him clients?
I'm alleging that it looks like she may have, yes.
When you say there's no new tape, are you saying that the tape at the center of one of those indictments is the same one at the center of the child pornography trial?
I believe that is the exact same tape, yes. What I know?
Have you seen the tape yet?
What I know, look, think of me like a good reporter like you, Megan. I have my sources. You have your sources. I'm basing it on what my sources are telling me.
Can you comment on your concerns about the Justice Smollett situation and how you think that potentially could impact our trial?
I don't think that the Jussie Smollett situation is going to impact R. Kelly's trial. I think what it shows us is how this office operates. Or at least how some, I don't want to say, this office is full of great prosecutors, 99% of them. I think what we're talking about is the upper reaches.
Today you withdrew your motion to allow R. Kelly to travel. Explain the logic behind it.
Well, because we don't have the information. We don't have another court date scheduled. If he needs to travel for concerts, that's going to be handled by Mr. Anton, and we'll let him deal with it.
What the chances of actual travel to that?
I have no idea. I think the chances of him traveling in a couple of weeks are probably zero at this point.
Avenatti has responded to what you're saying, and he tweeted out that he feels like R. Kelly's attorney is now trying to distract attention away from the clear guilt of his client by raising bogus arguments about he and Kim Fox. The evidence is the evidence. Multiple witness tapes plus DNA. What's your response?
So the DNA that I've seen thus far is not new DNA tests. It's the same DNA information they had when they rejected these charges years ago. And I don't need to respond to Mr. Avenatti. Mr. Avenatti thinks that he is the truth. He is the oracle of truth. I think the federal prosecutors disagree in New York. He's entitled to presumption of innocence like anywhere else, but they disagree. The tapes don't bear that out. The prosecutors in California disagree. When everything somebody touches is like this. What happened here is they got in bed with Avenatti, and Avenatti is toxic. Everything he touches seems to blow up, and that's what's going to happen here.
You said that the state's attorney wanted to find out if you only manipulated.
Well, we'll see what this stuff shows. But I think it's obvious when he was coming in here, he was having press conferences, he was spending hours and hours meeting at the state's attorney's office, that some kind of influence was going on. He was having very public outcries to do something. You have to do something. I also have a problem with the fact that he was representing witnesses before the grand jury, and he is not licensed to practice in Illinois. That is the unauthorized practice of law, and it's improper. I'm sure he'll say otherwise. I suggest people take a look at the law.